Call the meeting to order. Mr. Beecham, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Chester.
Here.
Ms. Ronio.
Here.
Ms. John. Here. Mr. Sherem.
Here.
Dr. Shute.
Here. Very good. Now, I guess tonight, do we have special guests and special recognitions?
We do have some special guests this evening. As you are aware, I'm sure, we have been participating in the Southwest Fit Kids Coalition for a number of years. That coalition is spearheaded by Comanche County Memorial Hospital, the County Health Department, a TSAT grant that we've received. Fort Sill is an active participant, and then LPS is also what I would call one of the larger players in the game. I've invited this evening some very special people to talk to you a little bit about the Fit Kids Coalition. The goal is to produce the healthiest child we can produce, and hopefully that will help us create the best student academically as well. So if I may, I would like to introduce to you this evening Dr. Ben Cooper, who will do other introductions and will give us a lead-in. Thank you.
Good evening. Nice to be here. Give you all an update on Fit Kids and where we've gone and an exciting new possibility, working with a partnership with the Department of Defense in Fort Sill. Fit Kids Coalition actually started at this facility in 2005. As physicians, we became aware that this was going to be the first generation of children in the history of our country whose life expectancy would not be that of their parents because of obesity and inactivity. Hospital Foundation had done studies, fourth grade students in Lawton, and found that 40% of those children were already obese. We were starting to see adult onset diabetes in Dr. DelVecchio's practice, 13, 14, 15-year-old children. So it wasn't necessarily just a national epidemic. It was our children. It was our communities. Since then, the Hospital Foundation has done BMI studies on all fourth graders, pretty much in all of Comanche County, including Elgin, Sterling, Cache, Fletcher. Statistics still holds. Big schools, little schools. 40% of those children are overweight. And in meeting with the school, our first meeting was to say that's where the kids are. That's where the tennis shoes on the ground are. And it was pretty clear that it was something that was going to be better and bigger than the schools. It was going to be bigger than the hospital. It was going to take the whole community. And that's kind of been our tenet from the very beginning. We were very fortunate to have cooperation between schools, the hospitals, city government, county government, military base, even the wildlife refuge. I think the unique thing that we have done is brought all the players to the table who are willing to share resources, times, and imagination to do some things to make change. 2009, the Lawton Public Schools were recognized as the most outstanding school district in the state of Oklahoma for the work that they had done. We still haven't moved the change down the field that far. We have the players, we have the will, we have the commitment. One of the updates that we've accomplished that you can pass around in front of you is a map of the Fit Kids Fitness Trailway System. This $6-7 million project. It's put shoulders on Highway 115 out through the refuge. That's been completed from Cache all the way to the Medicine Park. The refuge just got another $400,000 to increase off-road bicycle trails and hiking trails from the dam on Lake Elmer Thomas, the new fishing pier, connect over towards Letra, and some trail systems in Medicine Park. The city of Lawton has kicked in and has put a single-track off-road bicycle trail all the way down the west side of Lake Latonka, 13 miles, for the more adventuresome. And the city of Medicine Park is also creating some exciting bicycle opportunities. And I saw Brad Burgess last Saturday night. My understanding is we have Safe Routes to School funding now for Pat Henry. So be able to build those sidewalks. It's a wonderful program at Whittier, as you know. So bringing sidewalks in Lawton to bicycle trails in Lawton to bicycle trails in the park to connect through Fort Sill, to connect into the refuge and all those surrounding communities. It's a wonderful project. And if you'll look on that handout, you'll see the umbrella that shows all of the partners that are in it. With that being said, and we have gone a long ways, and I think we are probably still the premier community in Oklahoma that is working on this issue with those partnerships. We had an exciting new opportunity come up this week from the Department of Defense, and I'm going to let Brenda Spencer-Ragland talk to you about that.
We have been selected. Actually, the news release will be on the 22nd of March, but I'm really proud to let everyone know that we have been selected as a Healthy Base Initiative, which is part of the National Prevention Strategy and the Let's Move program by the President and Mrs. Obama. Everybody's familiar, I believe, with her push for health and wellness improvement programs within our communities, especially within our public schools. So Fort Sill, based on many of the initiatives that we've implemented over the last several years, have been selected as the active military installation to implement this program. Now, what this program is, it's a year-long program to actually get at some of the things that we have not been able to do. We've laid the brick and mortar. We've installed sidewalks. We've implemented a lot of initiatives throughout our schools as well as on Fort Sill. But one thing we have not been able to do is capture the actual results of the improvements that we've implemented, the measurements, the quantitative data that will allow us to show the successes. So in mid-April, we're going to have a team of 2 that's going to come down here to Fort Sill, work with us for a year. This is a year-long initiative where we will actually implement programs throughout. And one of the things that I have been stressing is that we work with 82% of our families living off base. So it's very important that we work with our public schools, and that's one of the things that they will let us do. They've partnered with Cornell University, and they've had done numerous programs where they've actually went into schools and helped change culture. Not just the menu, but to actually change the culture, the behavioral of the students, and make it more positive toward health improvements. So they will actually bring the teams that will support us through that. We'll have celebrity chefs that will work within our child and youth services programs on the installation, but also work with the schools to help us look at our menus and to make sure that what we are doing is appropriate, and they will come with funding. This will not be a cost to the school district. This is an opportunity to bring the talents in. They've got 8 to 10 corporations that we're using benchmarks where they've implemented health improvement programs throughout these corporations and seen marked improvements in the results, the overall health indicators for the persons that have participated. Working with the public schools throughout the nation, they've seen up to 35% improvement in students, which is phenomenal. And they will bring that to us, again, help us with not only implementation of some programs, but to actually measure the results to show that these changes will benefit. This is at the national level. We are the active duty military site that has been selected, so we're very proud of that. I will be calling on the school board and the schools to support us through this so that we can get inside the school cafeterias, work with students, as well as other programs to make sure that we give this a good run. We know it works. This will give us the data, not just the qualitative data where we get the positive feedback, but the actual measurements to show that these initiatives will make a difference. Any questions?
Elected, is there 5 or 6 of these piloted across the country, or is there just one, or?
There's actually 2 active duty installations, and it's pretty wonderful that it's us in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So as many of you know, Colonel Lacey retired from here, and he went to be the MWR director at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So we're really excited about that. So him and I will be the leads for the Army. They are going to do some naval bases as well. A total of 10 sites. It is a year-long program. We will have a kickoff, a health expo sometime in June to unveil the initiative, and then we will run it for a year. And again, this is part of, as I mentioned, it's the National Prevention Strategy. So this has executive level oversight. This links directly back to President and Mrs. Obama.
Very good.
So I look forward to your support. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Few more minutes. In the midst of this, some of you may not know, we have received as a community a grant from the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust, which is the entity in the state of Oklahoma that got funded when they had the tobacco settlement, when all the states sued the tobacco companies. And it's pretty significant. What's unique about Oklahoma is they had the sense to not use that money to build highways and bridges, but to focus on smoking cessation and now healthy nutrition and physical activity. So the overlay between what the funding from TSET and what with the national initiative with military bases is almost parallel. It's focused on healthy nutrition, physical activity, and tobacco ban. And so it's a perfect fit. And as I said, we're in the middle of this process working with Mr. Beecham on updating some of the school policies. Lawton Public Schools is probably as strong as any school system in the state as for its policies and even the practices. There are some practices that you do that aren't in policy form yet. Kyle Rogers is the program director for the TSET grant, and she's going to spoke to you about some of the policies that you have in place now that we think are outstanding, and some of those that we think could be tweaked and maybe improved a little bit. And I think that what that'll do, that will set a foundation for where we are when people do come in June from the national level, and they'll see what we do have in place, and they're going to be really concerned that it is policy-driven, that it is part of the DNA of the structure, and it is. And this is just a chance to kind of bring you up to date where those policies in Lawton Public Schools are in place now, and some I want you to think about. Kyle?
So we'll be brief and the really great thing is this program with Fort Sill and the National Initiative, and this kind of, like Dr. Cooper said, ties directly into it, correlates with it. So this just kind of lays the groundwork. You have your current nutrition policy in there. There's obviously that first page is just a little bit about Fit Kids, but current nutrition policy and fitness policy. That middle there is some recommendations that we have. They're based on national standards, Institute of Medicine standards, things that go above and beyond just USDA guidelines for school meals. That stuff's already taken care of with the government. So these are kind of the extra things that has been shown. If you implement these throughout your school system, then they've been shown to make a difference culturally, behaviorally. So those are the recommendations we have for you. Then obviously a lot of the schools you have are really gung-ho about the Alliance for Healthy Generation framework. Some not as much. They're pretty in-depth and detailed, but something that we like to follow as well. So this just gives you some information to look at, to think about as we start looking into some health and wellness for Lawton Public Schools. So I'll just leave it at that and let you all peruse that information, and we'll visit with you further later on.
Brady O'Connor, who heads up the Clancy County Health Department here as well. Let me make just a couple of quick comments, if I may. I appreciate all of the figures. It is significant that we start to make some strong inroads. We have kind of hit the hilltop, and that's great, but it's time to do more than just on the hilltop. You may remember we had a couple of schools 2 or 3 years ago that were recognized as bronze level schools by the Alliance for Healthier Generations. We were
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We would invite you to stay for the next 2 hours to visit me, but if you'd like to leave, please feel free to do so. We'll turn off the cameras and you can just sneak right out there. Nobody will even know. We'll edit it and it'll be great. Thank y'all very much for being here. I do have these. I do have these as well. I already have one on my desk, so whoever would be one. Whoever, needs one, they have mine. I guess I'm loud enough. Who needed it?
Okay. Okay, we skip down to 7, report of the superintendent.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I kind of counted the special guest this evening as the departmental report because it does deal with the health and welfare of our children, our PE programs. You'll remember earlier in the year, Mr. Ken Gray from Park Lane came and talked about teaching kids to ride and ride safely. Some of these trails that they have developed will be of great use to him as he works with those children, and we just need to get more of those good things going. We already have some safe route to school sidewalks. We need more, and neighborhoods like Pat Henry certainly need sidewalks. And the advantage there is kids can walk safely to school rather than in the middle of the street. They will walk to school, and that's a healthy endeavor, whether we recognize it or not. So, under 7A, I would ask you this evening to consider to take action regarding the development of an LPS fiber network in a partnership with Unite Private Networks. Talked to you, if you remember a couple of weeks back, Mr. DelVecchio, who's here this evening, and I stole his mic, so he will be a little harder to hear. But he had talked to you a little bit about where we wanted to go. He and I have met several times since then. We've tried to fast track this so we can get this thing up and running. And even at that, it's not going to be as quick as we would like. But Mr. DelVecchio, if you'll outline the plan, then we'll go from there.
We did meet last time with you and talked a little bit about bringing in a new fiber network for Lawton Public Schools. We're doing it at this meeting because part of this has to do with our E-rate, which is the schools and libraries, and we get monies through them and things like that. It actually needs to be filed in the next 2 days, and we're just looking at your blessings with this. Let me tell you a little bit about it right now. We are with AT&T. We're getting 100 megabits per second lines to all these schools. That means what? 100 miles an hour. Okay, let's just call it that. We do have 200 miles an hour that was just connected the other day. However, we don't have the ends to put it in to make it work yet. And so we've got the 200 megabits coming up very soon, which will double our bandwidth speed, which is what we need. However, what we're looking at when we bring in our own fiber network is having our own. We rent, well, okay, and I'm not saying this right either. We rent from AT&T at this time. However, AT&T, when they sell us these services, sell it to us at 100 megabit pipes. Well, we've got 2 of them for a set amount of money. We can put in our own infrastructure or have this company put it in. We rent it from them at about a 15% savings per year. And we go from 100 or 200 megabits per second to 1 gigabit per second, or 10 times info for all elementaries. All secondaries, we have decided to go to 10 gigabit per second. So if we were at 100 miles an hour, all the schools are 100 mile an hour on 1 pipe. Each one gets its own dedicated pipe now, and the best thing is in your, it's under section 7A. If you go to page 10, I believe there is a picture there for you that gives a little bit of what this would look like. And you can see there's big pipes going to our secondary schools. So our elementaries would go from sharing 100 megabit or 100 miles an hour to each school dedicated at 1,000 miles an hour, and each middle school and high school dedicated at 10,000 miles per hour, or what we could say 10 gigabits and all that geek talk, you know. The reason we're liking to do it again is because E-rate is coming up. We'd like to get this into the filing system. We don't pay for any of the installation. We don't pay for any services until they are turned on. It will take them approximately a year to do all of this, a year and many months. Our contract with AT&T expires in March of 2014. This should come online in December or January of 2015 for AT&T. December or January 2015. When this should come online, we don't pay for anything until that comes. When that all happens and the other expired contract falls out, this is in place. We do what they call a spin with the E-rate, change from paying one group to another, substantial savings for the district. And with E-rate itself, Lawton Public Schools doesn't pay the whole amount up front. We pay the 20% typically if we're the 80-20 at that year or whatever for the cost. So this would increase us from trouble in all over the place with bandwidth and having to shut down services during testing just so testing will all work, to it's actually going to be quoted as the best network in Oklahoma, even better than the state and stuff at that point. So
renting, and then we'll be renting again.
Yeah,
Will we own that
by
line?
E-rate standards, we cannot own something that we are getting federal help with.
Okay.
So that was the difference. I did say eventually we'll own this fantastic thing. No, we'll have to use it from then on, but it's part of the E-rate process that would give it to us. If we were to outright buy it, it would be about $10-15 million.
As a result, we're not going to actually be paying for the infrastructure. We're just going to be renting the actual data
Yes.
pipeline.
They will put in all the services. 73% will be aerial. 27% will be buried. A certain side of town has to be buried. Fort Sill, new rules, everything has to be buried. And so all of those go into it. They'll set it up. They'll get it all made. They'll bring all the points into the buildings, give us the connections to plug everything in. The neat thing is, as they're doing it, if Lawton High gets turned on in June, we get to use it kind of free until
all of
everything
it's
is
done.
up. And then when everything's on, they give us their first bill, and that's where we start.
What about maintenance? Who will be handling the
They
maintenance?
will be doing all the maintenance and stuff. They're working collaboration with us, because a lot of these things will be inside of our closets, our data closets and stuff like that. In the contract that is located in the back of the book, it does have provisions that LPS staff is always with them during maintenance if we so require it. And so we can always be part of it to make sure they're doing nothing wrong that messes with our system, and likewise.
Will there be a cost to the maintenance, or will that is
That is part
covered,
of the
the
agreement.
leasing agreement?
As long as now if we go upgrade, we're just stopping at 10 gigabits per second because this is pretty darn fast right now. It has capabilities going up to 40, which is unheard of speeds. It's like light speed. We would have to buy new connections on each end. But the infrastructure's there. The fiber will take enormous amounts of data. We just buy new ends to plug in. It's just the ends are...
Are you talking about the ends, like the little crimped ends like you have on
like
a cable?
You have to screw into the TV. That's
Okay.
basically the best way to think of this. They do go into giant switches that are dedicated switches, and it's the switch that converts it all into your building. And
Switches, because those can be a little bit expensive when you're talking about new switches for high-speed networks.
they can be quite expensive. They're providing all the way to the dimension. Is that right? Bill and I both said...
own the switches.
Okay,
Our switches already have, there's a little piece.
and they're high-speed capable of that kind of network speed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're already getting ready for VoIP capabilities if we need to with the phone system.
Okay.
We have gotten giga switches already for the switches that are in place. if we were to go to these 40s, yes, we need a...
New switch.
When I'm talking about ends, I make it real simple.
Yeah,
like
it's a little-
love, But no, you weren't saying the correct thing there. We'd have to upgrade the switch, which, for a 40 megabit switch would be, probably 15,000.
Correct.
So, you can.
And well, yeah, I understand that. We just went through that. What about the high-speed routers? Are they included in that, or are we covering that, or where are we with the hub router that comes out?
I'm not sure.
We actually already have most of the switches and the router.
Okay.
We have most of that stuff. There is some stuff we'll have to get from now till then. And everything we're buying in the future is related to be able to hook up with.
Okay.
Their main hub going into our place will be their thing that then gets spread out.
Correct.
And then from there, we've been planning this for many years.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
each E-rate session, we buy switches. They're already made with the plan of 2015,
Exactly.
2017.
Exactly.
Each one gets upgraded a little bit better as time
Okay.
goes on.
Is this a year-by-year contract, or how will this contract
Yes,
be?
it is, a year by year with the promise kind of that we'll go for a 10-year plan.
Sounds great.
And is there an increase every year?
No, it is a set price for 10 years.
Okay.
Okay.
And when will this be implemented again? I'm sorry.
It should be ready January 2015. Our contracts with AT&T are March 2015, so we've got a nice layover bit in there. We may get caught where we have a double pay for a month or two, which is fine. I'd rather have a buffer than to have no service.
Oh, yeah.
Until we get to January 2015, are we going to be doing any other type of broadband, like opening up our broadband we currently have?
Can't do it.
With the new one we have in there, we'll double it right now. The extra bandwidth was brought in last week.
Okay.
Like I said, we found out we don't have the little cards that go inside. If we have the switch, we just need the card to take that extra switch into there, that extra.
Is that going to increase the AT&T fees?
Or is that covered under E-rate?
That's the E-rate coverage.
Okay.
And so if it does, it's under E-rate.
Okay.
Just for inference, our E-rate, our internet bill is about $750,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, thank goodness, is taken care of by E-rate and things like that. So.
I'd like to move for approval.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Dr. Schuett?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
I have one just question. We put it on the floor, and we didn't have it open. That's all right. I just wanted to make sure that in that time, that contract that you said that will go in effect in 2015, they're not going to be able to up the price, up from here to there, because we're in limbo.
Tonight.
Okay, so when we sign it, that locks it in. That's
Locks it in for,
Okay.
until it actually starts, and then this is basically gonna be a 12-year with us not doing anything
for the,
almost 10
okay,
years.
good. I appreciate that, no problem.
Thanks,
Mr.
Glenn.
Jester, Board Member, if I could point out to you, when this proposal was originally presented to us, it was in a format that we could not accept because it was going to require us annually to appropriate the amount of money necessary to fund it through the full 10-year term. I went back to them and explained to them what our situation was, and they graciously totally rewrote the contract where we can back out of it any year at any point in time. Where are you going to go to get to replace it? And they're doing this on a leap of faith with us, and I just wanted to point that out to you, that they've really gone the extra miles in order to permit us to go down this, to travel down this road. And I think the opportunities are fantastic, and we still have that it doesn't cost us anything to get out of it like it would have otherwise.
This is probably the most exciting thing that's happened in a long time for our technology. Mr. DelVecchio and Mr. Rice and several others get a lot of credit for the hard work they did, that Matt Young, who used to work for us, also laid a great deal of the groundwork.
Mr. Wade did his negotiations with them so that the mutual ratification clause was correct. Ironically, there are 2 other school districts in the state that are doing business with them that are doing it legally, but that's their problem. But we want to leave you with, I want to leave you with a contract here that is going to serve the students well. And when you think about, we're going to be 10 times faster in every elementary school and 100 times faster in every high school than we are right now. And we're only about 18 months away from seeing that. That is really exciting. And I just kudos to everybody that worked hard to get this to happen. Because as Mr. DelVecchio said, we've been working on this for about 18 months, 2 years. Has to happen right now simply because of the timing of E-rate. E-rate runs about 12 months behind. We won't know what our funding is until the fall on E-rate, this coming fall. So all of this has to come together. So I appreciate what you've done. You've just really, truly blessed the students in this school district with a great school that's going to change their own students. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Item 7B, I would ask you to consider and take action regarding the proposed revision to policy EB, which is the calendar. Mrs. Ellis, if you'll allow me, I think I can save you some steps on this one. In the calendar, when we presented it to you last year, we failed to list Veterans Day as a holiday. Now, we took it. We took it, but we didn't get it in there with the listed holidays, and we need to go back and insert that, and that's what we're asking you to do this evening, and that is the only change in the calendar. So I would ask your approval of doing that so that what we do and what the policy says are the same.
Move for approval.
Second. Call roll, please.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Dr. Schutz?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's another thing, and again, I'm going to editorialize a little bit. I'm a short-timer, so I'm going to talk a lot, I guess. I think that's a real tribute to our community and the veterans in our community that we honor that day and recognize that day. So I appreciate that because so many just see it as another work day, and we need to take time to say thanks and give special notice to that. Item 7C, consideration and action regarding the adoption of policy DNAA-E2, principal evaluation rubric. Mrs. Ellis, I'm not going to save you on this one. I'm going to let you do this one.
That means I could have walked over earlier and saved the time, right, if not anything else. Policy DNAA-E2 is the principal evaluation that we adopted last spring, and we are just getting that document in and its rubric into the policy manual. If you'll recall, last April, May, we decided that we would use a model from the recommendation by the State Department of Education for teachers, and this is the model that we elected to use for principals. Hence, we are now putting that model into place. In January of this year, the state reevaluated the use of the principal evaluation and the administrator evaluation as separated them as 2 different documents. So now we have DNAAE1, which is what this was originally posed as, and that is now reverted back to the administrator's tool. And then we have DNAAE2, which is the principal's evaluation tool. So I propose that you accept that. I said that, didn't I? That you approve the acceptance of DNAAE2 as well.
Any questions?
Any questions or discussion?
No. I'm good. Move to approve.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Dr. Schutz?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis.
Item 7D, I'd ask for your consideration and action concerning the recommendation to approve the following summer programs and their budgets. The budgets all appear on pages 36 through 41. The first 3, the summer maintenance, the special education extended year funding, and summer feeding, are pretty much replicas of what we've done in the past. They are just, those programs have worked. They're being staffed at the same level. They're being funded at a similar level. The fourth one, however, the Summer Academy, has a couple of things we need to take into consideration this evening. And if I can get you to look at those, especially looking at, on page 44, 43 and 44, actually, 42, 43, and 44. Our issue is that we are losing money in summer school. And we have always been, summer school has always been self-sufficient. We have not adjusted tuition in about 5 years now, and we simply need to do that. One of the things that we can do, I believe, is we have two options. We can raise the tuition from 140 to 165, and we, as you can see under option 1 on page 42, will have a balance of about $1,000 at the end of the summer. Okay. Option 2 is to just raise it to 160 and do away with the fee waivers. And what fee waivers are is if some students who are qualified for free lunch, we allow them to attend, we absorb the cost so that they can participate. But if we do away with it, you can see we'll have less students attending, approximately 100 students, as we've estimated, 75 to 100, and then we would draw less revenue in, and therefore, but we would have also less revenue going out because we would not be absorbing the waivers. So we would clear in that instance about $572. Option 3 is to leave the revenue right where it is, leave summer school at $140. We'll lose about $9,000 for operating summer school. Option 4 is to raise it to 160 and to do away with the fee waivers, and you can see we're right at the break-even point, but that includes no bus transportation for anyone. That would probably eliminate about 25% of our students who currently come. That's about how many we transport at this particular time. Most students, either their parents bring them or they drive their cars, but there's a group of about 100 to 125 that need the bus transportation to get here, and that's, in our community, I think that's pretty significant. Now remember, we're busing to one location from all over town, so these are more comprehensive bus routes. The next two pages are simply the same thing, only with the difference in the cost of doing the transportation based on how we structure the classes. One is a 3-hour driver situation, one is a 4. But you can see they're pretty much in line with the others. The big question this evening is where to set the cost of summer school tuition, whether we would set it at 165, 160, or anything from there down to 140 where we currently are. My recommendation to you is that we go to a minimum of 160 because that's kind of our break-even point.
Which option gets us the most students involved here, Barry? Which option would involve the most students being retained in the schools?
Option 1 involves the most students being involved. Well, actually, option 1 and option 3. Option 3, we lose money because we're not raising. They're the same thing. If you don't raise the prices, we'll lose $10,000. If we do raise the price, we'll...
Under option 2 and 4, we would actually lose students out of these programs.
We would lose students because of the deletion of fee waivers or transportation. And that's really not why we're doing summer school. We're trying to
keep them there.
Right. I have a question too, Barry.
Sure.
Have we lowered the amount that teachers are making in summer school within the last year or 2 years?
Actually, the amount was moved up to $20. They were making $17.50 an hour.
Okay.
Had done that for 11 years.
Okay.
And we moved it to $20 because we couldn't get anybody to teach.
Right. Okay.
And that is the going rate across the board on any of the things we do is $20. Whether it's a federal program or summer school or whatever, we pay teachers $20 to do it. So we've got continuity in it. Because we did have some disparity previously, and that was very discouraging to see somebody teaching in a Title I program making 20 or 25, and you're over here making $17.50 for a Title I.
But it is $20 across the board.
It is $20 across the board.
Okay. And so like a librarian or a secretary, of course, would make that. They would make less, or?
I believe there.
Because I saw the rate.
It's down there.
You can look on the rates in here that they show for this year, and they've still got 17 and 15 on those rates. But you can see the librarians, the administrators, and the teachers. Well, the administrator makes a little bit more than the teachers and the librarian, but they will make the same. And that should be, we've changed all those to $20, so we'll have to redo the numbers on it.
Okay. I would like to make a motion, if there are no more questions. I would like to make a motion for option 1 to raise it to 165.
I'd second that motion.
Any other discussion? I have a question, Barry. Do you feel like that raise in fee of $25 will have a negative effect on many of the likely enrolled?
It will obviously affect students, but I don't think it'll have a negative effect on very many students at all. We have gone so long with trying to hold lunch prices and summer school prices and everything down that we've just reached a point where we're going to have to make decisions to cut services or to raise tuition. I think we're better off to still have the offering. Kids that go to summer school are kids that, for the most part, need to either make up a credit, catch up on a credit, or they're trying to get ahead so they can remain in some activity such as band or whatever based on the fact that their schedule wouldn't allow that at the time. So I really think it'll probably be,
So you need to
student count-wise, I think we'll be 5% of what we were previously.
So I'd like to amend my motion to actually just include option 1, because I see with the 3-hour and 4-hour, there's a different fee amount. So I'd like to just amend it to the option 1 so we can go with that.
Whichever option you
Yes.
want to use. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sure the second will go along.
Second, go on.
Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Sharam?
Yes.
Dr. Schutt?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Item 7E is an information item this evening. Mr. Kyle Smith, our Executive Director of Secondary Education, will present to you. The Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education require that we present a remediation report to you. The only hiccup in this particular report is these students that you'll be getting a report on actually could be juniors in college by now. It's that far behind in the data collection because they have to enter college before and be in remediation classes before the report can even be formulated. So it's an outdated piece of information, but it is still one that's required by statute for us to present to you.
Yes, if you look on, you have to excuse me, I about lost my voice from basketball games and cheerleading tryouts this weekend.
And he didn't make either squad.
I couldn't do the splits. But like Mr. Beecham said, this is something that the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education keeps up with, and the State Department of Education wants us to report on to you. It lists the 3 high schools, how many students attended Oklahoma colleges, and what the remediation rates were for science, English, math, and reading, and then unduplicated are those that only had to be remediated in one subject area. So if you look through that, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Really troubled with these numbers. Are you telling me, like, for example, 43.2% of those students that graduated that year needed remediation?
No.
Okay.
Okay. These are
Is that a percentage?
students, those are students that only had to take one remediation class, but remember, this is only for Oklahoma colleges, and so those that attend colleges out of Oklahoma, we don't have those tracked.
Okay.
On that part. The state average is about 40% for students that have to take remediation in one class. If you look at, and science is always low because not very many freshmen take science as a freshman level course. Most of them take an English and a math. The English rate for Oklahoma is about 16-17% for all high schools. For math, the state average is about 32-33%, and for reading, it's about 11% across the state. And of course, being a high school principal before, it cycles. We have some classes that need more remediation than others. We have some classes that have more students go to Oklahoma colleges than others, and so it will fluctuate from year to year on that. From last year, it's some schools are down, some schools are up, but not more than 1 or 2%.
from last year. Part. The other part is that this also doesn't count the remediation program that we have in place for ACE now that we hope is going to help eliminate some of the remediation students have to take in college. So we hope these numbers will improve. But we're pretty close to the state average in just about every area.
It's certainly always a concern.
Absolutely.
When we look at remediation numbers. The ACE remediation that's now being done in our high schools, which the state does fund for districts, will help, and we'll see a tremendous impact in these numbers, I believe. Now, the other thing I would say, and this is probably inappropriate of me to even say, but sometimes the remediation is based upon a student making a 19 on a math ACT score, and 20 was the cutoff. And so they forced them at the university to take the remediation class. You know, maybe the next day they would have made 21 on the ACT instead of 19. So again, the remediation classes do not count for graduation, for college credit. They make money for the university in many instances, but we still, regardless of why they're there or whatever, our students still need to meet a standard so that we're putting out the best possible student. So that's the challenge for us, and certainly I can tell you that our high schools understand that, and they're looking at that, and they are pushing the in-house remediation tremendously. I think it's interesting to look at, we have 1,000 graduates every year roughly, and we've got less than 500 going to college in the state of Oklahoma. You know, I'm going to guess we probably, because of military, we lose a tremendous number of students to other states, because as long as they maintain another state as their home state, then they have to pay out-of-state tuition in Oklahoma. So they can go back home sometimes, and so we'd probably lose a little higher percentage of students, and the head count would make a much bigger difference. If you had more out there, your percentages would go down. So, but no excuses. We've got to address the issue. We've got to take it head on, and we've got to do what needs to be done to help these kids be prepared as they enter the university.
Great.
That's all.
They're 3 years behind. I mean, I know you say they're behind on this, and they're reporting that.
Right.
They actually have to enter college before they can even start calculating the data. For some reason, the regions, you know, these are kids that graduated in 10, they entered college in September of 10, and we get the data in January of 13.
Yeah.
Now, these students,
It doesn't help us.
It doesn't help you where you're
are
coming.
these are the students that actually went a second year, or have they dropped out of college? We don't know any of
They
that.
went one semester.
Wow.
And then didn't make it.
During the third year, we just.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
It could be a more useful tool if we got the information at a later time. We may have already fixed some of these issues, but we won't know for 2 more years.
Does this count any of our concurrent enrollment kids, or?
No, they will not allow, we do not allow kids that need remediation to do concurrent enrollment, because if they need remediation, they need to be in high school, junior level, not out at the university, paying for it.
So you can see how it's kind of skewed into that. And what we're going to do is, and there's our best kids on the county.
The main thing, Kyle's been flat, not trending up or down. And you said, because we don't have prior years to look at.
No, I have 2009 and 2008 to look at.
And they look similar.
And it fluctuates from school to school. You know, I had last year's 2009 in front of me, and you know, Eisenhower's was 2009 was 27% of English students had to do remediation. This year it's 29%. The math is 32 in 2009. It's 32 this year. Their reading was 19, and it's 17 this year. And so MacArthur's was kind of the same way. Their English was 19 in 2009, and it's 23.7 this year. The math was 40 in 2009, and it's 35 this year. And the reading was 11 in 2009, and it's got to 8.9 this year. So there are different areas, goes into. One of the things I think that we hope is that the remediation that we give these students due to the ACE graduation requirements will help improve these numbers somewhat. But like I said, we're not way off from, when 40 is pretty much it is the state average, 39 point something is state average, and we're, we thought it was at 40, rising up at 43, and we stated it's pretty close, but they fluctuate a little bit every year, and we hope to, like I said, see improvement. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
And I assure you, we don't want to be a state average.
No,
We
want
want
to be
to
better.
move this in the right direction, and I'm sure that will continue to happen. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda?
None for me? No.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Dr. Schuth?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. I believe we do need an executive session tonight. Anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Dr. Schuth? Mr. Jester?
Yes.